All right. Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone. John Barry here at House Mortgage. We have Andrew Nuntapreda, credit ninja here from Synergy Credit Services. And what we wanted to talk about today was this breach with Equifax. We all know this is an issue. I've got a lot of calls, a lot of emails from clients wanting to know what they can do, what needs to be done, especially for clients that actually have a mortgage loan already in process. So we're just going to kind of run through all of that today and tell you what you need to do to protect yourself and also what Andrew can do to help you out if you've already been compromised. So, Andrew, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what this breach actually is, what's happened, what's been stolen?
Okay. So to actually or answer this question honestly, a lot of them don't even know what's been stolen. Equifax just thinks a lot of data has been stolen, anywhere from names, socials, birth dates, credit card numbers, dispute letters that you've sent in. They really have no idea, but they know that it's affected 143 million Americans, which is about half Americans right now. One of the biggest issues that's arising from this is they're not 100% sure what's going on. So they're just alerting pretty much everybody to check your credit and monitor it and keep track of it, but honestly have no idea who's stolen what and what's been stolen. They just know that it's pretty serious and there's significant repercussions from being stolen from them.
Gotcha. So I know I had several clients call and they told me that, hey, I went ahead and checked online on this website to make sure if my information had been stolen or not stolen. I didn't know if that was the right website that I went to, so I went to another website and I put in my information, and then it was trying to get me to sign up for stuff. Can you explain kind of, is there a website that people can actually be checking to see? Is there multiple sites? Or is somebody trying to steal their information, on the side? Are people selling services? What's going on with that exactly?
Okay, yeah, great question, John. So what's going on here is there's a website specifically through Equifax. I forgot the link right now. It's like Equifax something security check that you can go to and check exactly what's going on. One of the things that they're offering right now is if you are a victim of identity theft, or not identity theft in this situation, just of this exposure, what's going on is they're allowing you to have 12 months of credit monitoring services. But the problem is they were saying at first if you actually sign up for the 12 months of credit monitoring services, it negates your ability to be able to sue Equifax. They have come back and tried to change that now. So there's been some articles released recently saying that they've removed that stipulation from their credit monitoring, but I haven't been able to see for sure and verify it. But I have seen a lot of research saying that there's a lot of blowback from it, and a lot of people were frustrated, and so they've removed that from the credit monitoring services. Another thing that's going on right now is there's already like 20 class action lawsuits going on with Equifax as we speak. One of them is specifically for the credit monitoring services. Some people are saying that Equifax is using this as a ploy to get people to sign up for the credit monitoring services for a free term and then pay them at the end of it.
Right. So it was a year, and then that actually rolls over into a paid service.
Exactly. Okay. So that's one of the outcries right now. That's one of the class action lawsuits going on. Is they're saying this is just they're using it to their advantage to try to get some business that way. So there's ways of getting on this class action lawsuit, but there's not really damages. So there's a couple things you can do. One thing is there's a website right now that's allowing you to file claims directly at your small claims court to sue Equifax, which is almost a slam dunk win. You can do it that way. But the limits are like $2,500, $5,000. You can jump on a class action lawsuit, but if you don't have damages, it's a little bit tougher. But technically, there is damages. Some people are claiming that they're living in fear from now on. So because they're living in fear for the rest of their life, they're suing for those damages. So that's one way to pursue it as well. But really, it's a combination of a couple things that can be done, and we'll talk about what's the difference between freezes and also what's the difference between putting a fraud alert on there too, which I think is nice.
So yeah, exactly. I think one, what's the difference between credit monitoring, credit freezing, and a credit fraud alert? Because I think I had a client and they emailed over and they said, hey, I want to freeze my credit. Well, we're in the middle of a loan, so if they freeze their credit, what does that do? What are there holding periods? Is it worth it? What's the difference between those three?
Oh, absolutely. So if you're in the middle of the mortgage loan process, you probably don't want to freeze it because what they're going to do is one credit refresh at the end of it. And if that's locked, then it's going to have some issues. So let's talk about the differences first, and then let's discuss what's the best thing to do depending on what scenario you're going through. So first things first, a fraud alert is temporarily for 90 days. So it's not a long-term thing. You apply for a fraud alert. They'll lock it up. So John can actually still pull up a credit report. If you're going to a mortgage company, going to a credit card company, they're still going to be able to pull up your credit with a fraud alert. and it is only for 90 days. You can get a long-term one, but you have to provide a police report, and that will be for 7 years. And then the military, they offer a 12-month fraud alert to be put on your credit report. But really, you probably would prefer a freeze for your credit report, John. The reason why a freeze is going to be better, unless you're in the loan process like this client, a freeze will last you can do it for as long as you want. And typically you can set it up with like a PIN, or they say the thawing, to thaw it out by providing a PIN. And also when someone goes to run your credit, they can't get approval unless you give approval to the credit bureau. So you can write into them or provide a PIN for them and tell them that you're applying for credit, and they'll temporarily thaw it out for you so you can run credit. So a freeze is probably the preferable thing to do right now rather than a fraud alert. And a freeze alert, so sometimes the credit bureaus will offer it to you. Technically, credit bureaus are supposed to offer, if you contact TransUnion for a fraud alert, they'll notify everybody. The freeze, I think you have to do individually. I've seen some people say that they've been able to freeze it through credit bureaus contacting one. From all my research, what I see is that you actually have to contact each credit bureau individually. And then when you go applying for credit, this is the issue. You have to go contact the credit bureaus, unlock it before they can run credit and see what's going on.
Each individually.
Each individually. But here's the downside to it. So let's talk about what the downside is to the freezing of the credit. So if you have a home mortgage right now, the home mortgage companies can still pull your credit. Your credit card companies will still be able to pull the credit cards, because they want to know if you're paying late. So they want to be notified if you're paying late so they can increase the interest rates for you. So they'll still be able to monitor it. And then also, if your credit card information was stolen with the data breach from Equifax, they still have that, and you can't lock your credit card specifically for that. So let's talk about how you can protect it on that end in a short segment. But more importantly is they still have access to that credit card information if it was compromised. So really the best thing that you can do is be proactive and track everything. What I would suggest is setting up your cell phone to text message you, or with your bank to text message you anytime a purchase goes through. That way you can monitor it, hit yes or no for the credit card purchases.
And this is for the credit cards.
This is just for credit
not
cards.
The social security numbers, everything else that's been breached. Right.
Exactly. So, because the credit freeze will essentially protect your credit report and your credit score, or not credit score, but your credit report from being pulled and being used for other debts. But your credit card isn't protected in the credit freeze. So you really want to be proactive to set up your credit cards to notify you when purchases are being made, so you can really be on top of it and check all your statements every single month. Credit cards are pretty good at refunding you if your information has been compromised. But there's statutes of limitations. So if you don't notice it and 3 months goes on, that can be an issue and they might not refund you. So you just want to be diligent to check it. But the credit freeze in itself, it's kind of, to me, I think it's a false sense of protection for you. You still need to monitor your credit. And let me explain to you why that is. Because at the end of the day, if your information was stolen, it was stolen with social security numbers and birth dates and a lot of information and your full credit report. In order to unlock it, what do you need to unlock it?
The same information.
The same information. So right. That information was stolen, unfortunately. So you still want to monitor it and be proactive to check on things to make sure nothing is applied for. Like last night, I just went on and checked to see if there was any type of inquiries on my credit report. And I didn't see any. So that made me feel a lot better because I did see that I was compromised with the Equifax thing.
Gotcha.
But at the end of the day, information is being compromised on a daily basis. So it's not something to freak out. It's just something that we need to be proactive to monitor this stuff. So what are our options to monitor? Well, there's a free option, Credit Karma, but Credit Karma will only monitor Equifax and TransUnion. So if something happens with Experian, you're not going to know what's going on. And the other thing is this so-called free service, right? I do these quotations. The free service itself it is free, but just like your mom told you, John, nothing in life is free. And that's what's going on here. They're going to sell you advertising. They're going to sell you credit cards. They're going to sell you credit monitoring. They're going to sell you to refinance your car loan, refinance your home loan. So just don't fall for that stuff because that stuff's not good for your credit either. But
it's only protecting you monitoring on 2 bureaus at the same time. Right?
Exactly.
And since there's 3 bureaus, we want to be watching all 3 of those because any one, could get an approval on new credit, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Most of the time it's going to be all 3, but sometimes there's weird anomalies, like your car loan will be through 1 bureau sometimes.
And a thief will know
credit card.
where to go.
Yeah, a thief knows exactly where to go to protect themselves. So honestly, I think that probably the most one that you want to really keep track upon is Experian. Because a lot of people have access to Credit Karma. Credit Karma does a lot of advertising. So I'd say about 40 to 50% of people know about Credit Karma. So the thieves are keen to this. So what they're going to do is probably target experience. So there's lots of websites you can use. We're going to put some links on the website on ours that you can do for credit monitoring. Some that are like only $16.95, some are $19.95. Find the one that best fits your needs, but just monitor it. Make sure there's no inquiries. Make sure there's nothing new popping up on there. But
and that's regardless if you have a freeze or not. Because even if you have the freeze, like you said, it could be unlocked with the same data that was stolen.
oh, easily.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, $16, something like that. I mean, what's your credit worth to you? I think that's a really key part. People, I don't want to pay anything. Well, too late, right? I mean, it's going to mean thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the next, 5, 7, 10 years if your credit score goes bad because you're not paying attention.
Absolutely.
So, a few dollars now might be worthwhile, especially while this is still a hot topic and everything. And back to the monitoring, Experian is only, or Equifax, whoever it is, providing this monitoring service, they're only providing monitoring, right? They're not saying we'll also freeze it or put a hold on it. So they're not doing the freeze or the fraud alert. They're just monitoring it
Exactly.
for you. And then they're going to hit you up in a year. And if you sign up for the service, you possibly could be foregoing any right to sue them if you do have damages. So
Exactly.
that might not be necessarily the best route. And since they've already proven themselves trustworthy at this point, there may be a third-party service to monitor that might be a little bit more effective.
Oh, 100%.
So,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, and that's I agree with you on that 100%, John. It's the credit bureaus are a $100 billion industry. Okay, so they're not really our friends. They get paid to store data, update data, sell data. So even with the credit freeze, are you still going to get those annoying, pesky things? Absolutely. The credit freeze is clarified. You will still get pre-approval letters from creditors. So the credit bureaus are a money-making machine, and they've kind of found a way, let's spin this. Another thing that's just devastating about this whole credit freeze, to talk about how devastating these people are and how they're not really looking out for us, is they knew about this. So this would happen between May to July. They found out in July itself. And instead of telling the public, they held off until last week on Friday or Thursday. And then the day before that, what happened? All of their executive officers sold off like $2 to $3 million worth of stocks because they knew what was going to happen. And then what happened was their stocks plummeted the next day.
But
As
they
soon as
didn't
I
know.
mentioned this. But they said they didn't know. This is another class action lawsuit that's going on with Equifax right now. So do you really trust these people who don't care for you as a public, that don't want to warn you, that sell their stocks off intentionally to save some money and leave the stockholders with the bill? I don't
To
trust
now
them.
be the ones that are going to monitor.
Oh, and to be the ones, exactly, to be the ones that are going to monitor it with their website and then try to sell you their advertising at the end. So I'm really not a big fan of them. Some websites I like is we use, we have one for us, synergycreditpros.procredit.com, Identity Guard, Privacy Guard,
And we'll
lots
put,
of different
we'll put those
websites.
links in our comments and on our blog as well.
Yeah.
So, you guys can click on that, check it out, find the right service for you. But I'm with you. I think a third-party service is probably also good.
Oh, 100%. Third-party services are going to be unbiased for you. So that's going to be your biggest benefit from that. And then also a lot of these services offer identity protection too if you have theft. So like they cover like $1 million worth of identity protection if your identity is stolen specifically. So they come with an extra insurance benefit as well using these third-party companies, so they're definitely well worth it. But as John was saying, this could be hundreds of thousands of dollars of money, but more than anything is your time. If you're stuck with this is not a fun situation to deal with, especially if you're going to try to do it yourself. The time aspect of trying to clear up your information from identity theft is ridiculous, because here's the problem. The creditors don't want to fix it either because they're stuck with the bill. So if something was opened up underneath your name, spent money for, and then they bought stuff illegally, and then you find out all this information, they really don't want to fix it because then they have to pay that. They have to, or they've already paid off the company.
footed the bill.
They footed the bill, and so they don't want to do it. So the companies don't give you the full information. So just to give you an example, I deal with, even before this even happened, I've been dealing with identity theft for many clients. But instead of the creditors telling them, hey, you need to go get a police report if you want this out there, they don't tell them anything. They'll just say, hey, that's your thing to fight.
Right.
When in reality, it's not that hard. You need to go get a police report, submit the police report, submit it to them. But the problem is they don't want to tell you this stuff, because if they tell you this stuff, it arms you how to get this debt off your credit report and not be your responsibility. So what they try to convince you to do is just have you pay it. It's easier, just pay it, and we'll put this as paid in full, satisfied, good standing. Well, the problem is even if you do pay it, you're left with a paid collection for 7 years. So
right, it still ruins your credit.
It still ruins your credit.
Jacks up your interest rates and all of that.
Exactly.
So if we run into people who have already, are already victims, that someone's already exploiting, either their credit card number or they're already applied for credit and maybe got some credit on this because they have, like you said, already had a month, or longer, who really knows, with this information, what can you do for these people? I mean, because I know a lot of people, the main complaint I get from clients that are victims of identity theft, or something's exploited or information is stolen, is I don't have the time to figure this out. I mean, so if someone finds themselves in the situation, what can someone like you and Synergy do to kind of help them along?
Oh yeah, we'll do a step-by-step guidance of what exactly needs to happen. Everybody's situation is going to be very unique to what's going on here. So obviously, if they've been compromised, what we want to do is definitely set up a freeze on their accounts, and we definitely want to file a police report first and then submit it over to them. But yeah, some people can do this themselves. Okay, I'm not. Some people don't have the money to afford it and they have the time. You can definitely try this yourself, and we're happy to give that advice. But some people, like you said, don't have the time to deal with this. It's a grueling process if you don't know what you're doing. So we put it on cruise control. We need your help to get the police report. If you don't help us get a police report, it's really hard for us to fight that, but that's really simple. You just go to the police station. It should take you about 10 minutes of your time. Some police stations will tell you they don't want to file a police report. You need to go to the jurisdiction of somewhere else. No, you can file a police report anywhere, okay? That's just them trying to push it off so they don't have to devote their time.
Do the paperwork.
Do the paperwork, exactly. So everybody wants to avoid paperwork in this life, just like you guys will that don't want to do it yourself. So don't let them push you around. Tell them, yes, you know your rights and that you can file a police report out there. Get the police report, and once you can provide that to us, we can do all the letters for you. We can send out all the freezes for you. You can do it also by mail, but you could also do it by phone call. So lots of ways to address it. It really just depends on how much time, money, and resources you have to throw at it, or if you'd rather just put it on cruise control or you do it yourself. So we're happy to offer a variety of all those things. We understand people are in different situations, right? Some people don't have the money to afford an expert to help them out, but at the same time, we're happy to give advice. We're all about paying it forward, because me and John are firm believers. We know that if we help enough others get what they want, we can have anything we want in our lives as well. So definitely reach out with any questions about how to set up freezes, how to set up fraud alerts, which I really don't think is a good thing for this right now, but also how to really address the items if you have had some theft going on right now.
Perfect. So takeaways, if people that are victims, we'll put the link in our blog and also on this post as far as where they can go to check. A freeze is probably better than a fraud alert. Most people out there right now. A credit monitoring service, preferably a third-party monitoring service,
I agree,
is going to be key. And I think that pretty much holds for people that are victims of this breach and just everybody else. Because if you weren't a victim of this breach, you could have been a victim of the previous two breaches just with Equifax.
Oh, yeah.
Or one of the other bureaus, or one of your credit card companies or your creditors. So it's worth monitoring it regardless. But, a freeze in a monitoring service is really key. And if you need more help or need advice, contact us at Houz or contact Andrew or his team over at Synergy Credit Services. We'll put links to all of that in the comments as well. So do you have anything else kind of close out and offer to the folks out there?
Don't freak out. It's easy to let this stuff get to you and make you have some sleepless nights, but don't freak out. This isn't the first time something's been compromised information-wise, and this isn't the first time a credit bureau has been compromised. So this has happened before. It's just this is the largest scale of it happening. So the thing is if you're proactive with life, you can always prevent things from happening, and there's a lot of ways to fight it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's my final words is just don't freak out, okay? If you panic,
be proactive.
Yeah, be proactive. Take some time to breathe, and it's going to be all right, okay? Especially if you have experts like us helping you guys do it. Like I said, we're happy to provide free advice, and also if you don't have the time, we're happy to do it for you as well. So looking forward to helping you guys out, and
great.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, thank you very much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Appreciate taking the time. Everybody, have a good day, and thanks for joining us.